Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying we should all fear, because she's competent. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
She will be every bit the loyalist that Matt Gaetz would have been, just with a little more legal experience and a little less baggage.
There is a backup plan. I told you, Trump has a plan. Don't get too crazy about any one decision. There's a big plan here.
The media is freaking out over Pam Bondi, Trump's replacement pick to be the next attorney general, and you know what? I'm all for it. Here is the meltdown that happened over on MSNBC.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Yeah, and I want to discuss that with a little more depth with both of you, including her record on civil rights, LGBTQ rights, and other issues that are front and center at the DOJ, and which we know were also big campaign issues this cycle.
I mean, come on. If MSNBC is in full-blown panic mode, then that suggests to me that this is a really good pick. I would be alarmed if the media wasn't freaking out about this, and I think the reason they're freaking out is because exactly of what they hinted towards in that last segment. You know, her experience. Not only does she have 8 years of experience as the Attorney General in Florida, but she also has over 20 years of experience as a prosecutor. And in fact, it wasn't just MSNBC freaking out. They were talking about that over on CNN, and they were really stressing the point, hey, she has a lot of experience, so she can actually get a lot of Trump's agenda done when it comes to the Justice Department.
Pam Bondi is, without a question, qualified to be Attorney General. She's been a prosecutor for 20 years in Florida. For 8 of those, she was the Attorney General of the state. That's a very big, very complicated job, and that level of experience is on par with or better than most United States Attorneys General that we've seen over the past 50 years or so.
Now, I know a lot of people really liked Matt Gaetz, but obviously he was weighed down by that scandal, and from what I heard, it sounds like Trump actually called Matt Gaetz personally and said, hey, it sounds like these votes are immovable, Murkowski, Collins, McConnell, and Curtis, the incoming new senator from Utah. And so that's why he made the decision to drop out. And what's really interesting about all of that is this idea of recess appointments has really been floated around. And it's interesting that Trump didn't fall back on that plan of recess appointments. And to me, that suggests that perhaps, yes, there was a backup plan, and Dan Bongino has a theory on that. We'll get to that in a second. But what I really like about Bondi is she's not going to have the baggage that Gaetz has. And I think one thing that's really important to Trump is that all his cabinet picks are good on TV. And I know a lot of people may think that's a superficial thing, and that's not necessarily a qualification for the position. And I don't think that being good on TV is the qualification that Trump is looking for. Obviously, to be Attorney General, you have to have experience, especially in the legal world, especially when it comes to prosecuting cases and rooting out corruption. But what's been really important to Trump this time around, clearly, has been communicating his message to ensure transparency to the people. I think that's why, not only did he create Doge, but they're now having Dogecasts, right, between Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy. And what they're going to do through those Dogecasts, similar to podcasts, is essentially communicate to you and me what they're doing, what their plan is, what's going on, what the latest update is. And I think that's why it's so important for Trump that his picks are good on TV, so they can communicate what they're doing and provide transparency at every level, at every agency within the government. So I don't think it's a superficial thing. But of course, MSNBC, they're going to find every way to complain. So in this next segment, they're complaining that Pam Bondi was all over TV. They're sort of minimizing the fact that she was Attorney General of Florida. By the way, one of the largest, one of the most impactful of all 50 states. I mean, I'd put it right up there with California and New York. I get it's not the size of either of those two, and Texas. but it definitely is one of the most influential states that we have in the country. And so the fact that she was attorney general there is a big deal. And yet MSNBC is freaking out that, she's on Fox News. Take a look at this.
Any good reality TV star, you probably remember Pam Bondi best from her many, many, many appearances on television, and specifically Fox News television. Miss Bondi even filled in as a guest host on Fox 3 times while she was still the sitting attorney general of Florida. And she spent plenty of time on the network since she left office.
Murderers, rapists from Venezuelan prisoners coming straight into our country. They are coming to a town near you. It should scare and terrify everyone in this country. This is just one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, trying to hurt Donald Trump.
We do have evidence of cheating, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but we are still on the ground in Pennsylvania. I'm here right now, and we are not going anywhere until they declare that we won Pennsylvania.
That last clip you saw there was from just after the 2020 election, when Pam Bondi was promoting the big lie that Trump had won the election. Bondi was, again, part of Trump's legal team that tried and failed to prove Trump's election conspiracies in court, filing multiple lawsuits on Trump's behalf in battleground states. And she has been one of his most loyal foot soldiers ever since then. She even stood by Trump's side during his Manhattan criminal trials and defended him outside the courthouse.
Listen, all the rights here, I'm a prosecutor, former prosecutor. Yeah, all the rights here go to the defendant because it's his liberty at stake, and that has not been happening in this courtroom. This case should have never, ever been brought.
All of that is why Donald Trump chose Pam Bondi to be his pick for Attorney General. She will be every bit the loyalist that Matt Gaetz would have been, just with a little more legal experience and a little less baggage.
I mean, this is all great news, right? The fact that she has so much experience, the fact that MSNBC is hating on her. By the way, I love how she began that segment like all good reality TV stars, just comparing her to a reality TV star as if she has no other experience, as if her intelligence level is that of a bimbo. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring that out. And by the way, MSNBC better be very careful with their reporting, because not only... Get this. I know a lot of people have seen this, right? That Comcast is now looking to spin off and get rid of, offload MSNBC because it's losing money now and their ratings are in the tank. Apparently, the new parent company that MSNBC is being spun off to is called SpinCo. Spin Company. Yeah. I mean, you cannot make this stuff up. By the way, Rachel Maddow, their star, who is only on the network one night a week, she apparently, according to the U.S. Sun, has taken a $5 million pay cut as ratings tank. And this, by the way, was announced after Joe Scarborough revealed that he and Mika went to Mar-a-Lago. So you gotta love that. So all of that being said, it comes back down to what is going on. Like I mentioned yesterday, it was really interesting that this pick, this replacement nomination of Pam Bondi, came not even 12 hours after Matt Gaetz' resignation letter. And to me, that suggests that, yes, they had a backup plan. And some people are even suggesting that maybe this was the plan all along. Now, look, I'm not one to talk about 4D or 5D chess. And for those of you unfamiliar, it's the idea that politicians, or Trump in particular, is thinking a few moves ahead and is, setting up a trap or setting up a decoy. And what he's really doing is, playing a chess move and hoping that the choices he makes now pays dividends later. Now, I usually don't pay a lot into those theories, but what caught my attention was Dan Bongino actually talking about this. Now, Dan Bongino, of course, used to previously work for the Secret Service. And by the way, he is rumored to be under consideration to be named the next director of the Secret Service under President Trump. But he was talking about, hey, there could be a plan here. And I think this makes sense. Because to me, I'm like, what if Matt Gaetz was actually a decoy to flush out any rhino senators, so that way we know who's uncommitted to the cause. And that way, we know what their arguments are. Because I think when it came to Matt Gaetz, there were really 2 arguments. Number one, it was obviously the ethics investigation, the one that the DOJ refused to press charges on, and then the report from the House Ethics Committee. And that was issue number one. Issue number 2 was he doesn't have enough experience. He's unqualified for the job. Well, okay, Republican senators have now put those concerns out in the public. Matt Gaetz withdraws, and then Trump nominates Pam Bondi, who has neither of those issues. Not only does she have no ethics complaints against her, but she has a lot more experience, a lot more qualifications. So therefore, those 4 senators can't use the same excuse they used against Gaetz. Now, I won't be surprised if they come up with some nonsense accusations against her, guys from 20 years ago coming out of the closet, in more ways than one maybe, to attack her. But, what are they going to do? I mean, you saw on MSNBC and CNN, they're freaking out because of how qualified she is. So it'll be really interesting. Now, because, had Trump nominated Bondi first, there is a possibility that those same senators may have said, no, she's too MAGA, she's too loyalist, blah, 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 blah. But now that they've used those excuses on Matt Gaetz and Pam Bondi doesn't have either of those 2 issues weighing her down, can Murkowski, Collins, McConnell, and Curtis really double down and vote no on her? Here's what Dan Bongino had to say on this whole theory of 4D and 5D chess.
We did what you asked. Now we have a request too. The Matt Gaetz poll was overwhelming. There's 151,000 people in this chat room. This is not a small sample. This is what we want. If it doesn't work out, we'll get rid of them. That's okay. We did what you asked. Now it's your turn. This is not a one-way street. There is a backup plan, however. I told you Trump has a plan. Don't get too crazy about any one decision. There's a big plan here. There's a reason for every Rubio. There's a Hegseth and a Gaetz. There's a reason for every Elise Stefanik. There's a Ratcliffe. There's a reason. There's a reason. Trust it. Here it is, ABC News. Folks, they're going to be able to get Rubio and Ratcliffe and Elise Stefanik through no problem. That's not even going to be an issue. They're also going to be able to get probably a couple more through no issue. There's going to be a couple struggles in there, and the Democrat portion of the Senate is going to want at least one scalp. Their scalp right now is Gaetz. That's who they want. We have another option because Trump's already thought it through. Why do you think Trump wanted the senators up for majority leader to pledge that they'll go along with recess appointments? Because he's stupid? No, because he's actually very smart. I'm going to explain to you recess appointments.
Yeah, I think Bongino is right on with that. Now, it's a lot of unknown wannabe journalists like me. And for those of you newer to the channel, that's what Alan Lichtman referred to people like me as. A lot of people like to say, well, Trump has a plan. He has 4D, 5T chess, and just trust the plan. But the problem is when a lot of people say that, they don't actually have a connection to Trump or anyone within his orbit. Dan Bongino is very well connected. He has Trump's personal number. And like I said earlier, he is under serious consideration to be in charge of the Secret Service. And in other words, in charge of the next president's security detail. He's in the know. And to me, he's a voice I trust. So if Dan is saying there's a plan, I don't think he's just trying to blow smoke up anyone's butt, trying to, make people feel good about these appointments and these nominations. I think he actually has insider information, and, obviously he's not privy to all of it, and he's not allowed to share it all. But if he's sharing stuff like that, I feel really good about it. Now, does this mean that she's going to sail through the nomination process without any controversies? No, of course not. The Democrats are going to drudge something up from the past. They're going to take even if it's not a false accusation, they're going to find some random case. Maybe it's a case involving a minority, or maybe a case involving a member of the LGBTQ community. I don't know, or a migrant. They're going to find some case that is random, and they're going to explode it and blow it out of proportion. I think that's what's going to happen. But like I said, maybe Trump has flushed out those rhinos and they've used those excuses on Matt Gaetz. And now that it's out in the public, they really will have no excuse to vote against Pam Bondi. I don't know, but Scott Jennings has some serious, interesting thoughts on this. And this is what he said on CNN.
Is this just a confirmation that would essentially sail through, Scott, or not?
Well, I don't think you could consider anybody, just they're going to sail without any kind of real process. She's going to have to go through a process like everybody else. But I can tell you, this is a massive upgrade. I've talked to a couple people up on the Hill already. There's a sigh of relief that now we have somebody here two-term AG, strong record on drug enforcement and opioid issues, a total hawk on immigration, politically supportive of Trump, obviously. I don't know a Republican in the country who doesn't love Pam Bondi. So you were starting with Gaetz, a nominee who was underwater significantly to start and was going to always be hard to get to the surface. With Bondi, I do think you're starting above water, and as long as she performs in her hearings, and look, this is somebody who's been through 2 elections in a really big state, and so a lot of public vetting of her has gone on already. So I think this is a great move by Trump to be pragmatic and tell Gaetz to get out, and a really good move to go with Bondi. This is not a shaky limb. This is a sturdy branch he's going with for AG here.
I think those are all great points that he brought up. I think the fact that she was Attorney General in Florida, again, she's been in the public eye for so long, it'll be really hard for Democrats to dig up dirt on her. But again, don't underestimate their ability to really get into the gutter. So I don't be surprised if there is some controversy that comes up. Now, before we close out the video, I have a few notes, exciting notes. Number 1, 13 people have correctly guessed the dog's name. Who is not sleeping here. He is by the window. I live overlooking the park in the city, and he loves people watching. And 3 people have guessed the cat's name. Now, I do have a question for everyone, so please let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I had initially said that I was going to like thumbs up or otherwise engage with comments of people who guessed the animals' names correctly. However, a few people did leave comments saying, please don't do that because it's going to spoil it for the rest of us. They were like, if we see you like another comment, then we're going to know their name and it's just going to ruin the game. But I also, I feel bad because I said I would do something, but I hope explaining it that way, you get what I'm saying? It's not that I'm trying to walk back that statement. So I guess here's my question. Is there a strong opinion one way or the other? Do y'all agree that I shouldn't engage with those comments? But at the same time, I sort of want to acknowledge them. So, should I create an end screen that has, hey, these usernames guessed it correctly, blah, 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 or have a scrolling bar on the bottom? Maybe that would be a way. So that way, if you did guess, you can know or find out if you got your guess correctly. Does that make sense? I guess I'm just trying to figure out, I want to acknowledge the people who guessed correctly, but don't want to, ruin the game for everyone else. And, by the way, I know not everyone is into fantasy, so not all of the clues are going to be well, it's this book or that book or anything like that. There will be very different clues. So the first clue, for anyone who missed it, and I did have a cute video of the dog, and I had the cat playing in this video somewhere. Now he's gone. Oh, he's back over my left shoulder. But the dog is named after a dragon in a fantasy series, and the cat is named after my favorite character, who is a gambler in a fantasy series, a book series, and actually now a TV series too. That was actually a big clue. But still very niche, but the future clues aren't necessarily going to be fantasy-based. So even if you aren't into fantasy or aren't into whatever, there will be fair clues for everyone. So let me know everyone's thoughts on that. Because, I don't want to, ruin the game for everyone. But I also want to acknowledge the people who are doing it, who have guessed correctly, because I think that's exciting. And you'll want to know, too. Okay, yeah. Now, as far as this, yesterday when I asked how everyone felt about Pam Bondi, it was about 80% positive, and then about 20% of everyone's comments were mixed or negative. A lot of people were really upset, a lot of people were hardcore for Matt Gaetz. And I think my question for y'all is, have your views or thoughts on that changed in the last 24 hours? How is everyone feeling about this pick now? The dust has settled a little bit. Is everyone still feeling good, feeling better, feeling worse? And then how do you feel about the mainstream media freaking out about it? Does that, inspire confidence in the pick at all? Or do you think that their outrage is just a dog and pony show to, hate Trump because they have Trump derangement syndrome. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you haven't already, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. I know it's a simple thing to ask for, but it really does help me reach more viewers like you in the algorithm. If and when the channel reaches 100,000 viewers, subscribers, I will reveal and confirm the pets' names on air, give you their background stories, their adoption stories. Both are very interesting and unusual. So I think that'll be a nice way to celebrate with everyone and hopefully keep growing this community. So be sure to smash that subscribe button and to check out one of these videos.